G'day legends, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing really well out there, and welcome back to another edition of Show Us Your Tips, the tipping show where I tell you who I'm tipping so you know who not to. That is pretty much how we are going this year. It has been pretty bad. But look, we are going to get stuck into the tips very soon. But before we do that, make sure you get us around us on all the social media accounts. Links to that will be downstairs in the description. You guys know about that by now. Also, look, if you're a collector card fan, like most people who watch this channel probably are, we have got Brilliance coming out next week. Select dropped an absolute bomb on us last week and just released it with no notice. So look, if you're still struggling to figure out all the key info and the things you need to know about Brilliance 2024, make sure you go back in the feed and check out the release breakdown that we did last week for that. It's pretty much got everything you need to know. Be your one-stop shop for everything you need to know around Brilliance. So yeah, make sure you get around that one. Look, we are in for an absolute belter of a round this week. I read a little stat today that I didn't realize when I was sort of looking at the games for this week, that this is only like the 6th time in history that the entire top 8 is all playing each other in one round. So yeah, look, we're going to be in for some belters of games. It's going to be an absolute ripper of a round. So yeah, let's get stuck into it. Alright guys, so kicking things off on Thursday night, we got the Blues taking on the D's at the MCG. This is looking like it is going to be an absolute ripper of a game. As I said, a lot of the games this week are going to be very tough to call, and this is no different. Look, feel like the Blues have kind of taken a step back in the last couple of weeks while Melbourne just sort of keep just going under the radar and getting the job done. Look, I reckon the D's are going to get it done this game, but I think we're going to learn a lot about Carlton in the next few weeks. Obviously, they've had a pretty sort of tough run coming up. They got Sydney, they got Suns, they got Port, and they got the Bombers, who are currently sitting 5th, coming up in the next 4 weeks. So, look, I think that's going to teach us a lot about where Carlton are actually at. I know a lot of people have got them as Premiership favourites. A lot of people have got them sort of just making up the numbers in the 8. I definitely fall into the latter category of that. I just look, I feel like until they can pull it all together, I'm just not ready to go all in on the Blues just yet. So look, we're gonna lock this one in. I got the D's by a couple of goals. Should be a ripper of a game. And then we're moving on to one of 2 Friday night games this week, which I think is a little bit weird. I don't know, there's probably some sort of reason behind that. Is it an East Coast public holiday or something? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, 2 games overlapping on a Friday night seems a little bit strange to me. But look, we got Geelong hosting Port Adelaide down at GMHBA Stadium. Look, I think, first of all, I have to apologise. I broke Geelong. I started tipping them and they lost their first game. So, sorry, Cats fans. That one is definitely on me. But look, I am going to tip them again this week, but I think we're pretty safe. Port seemed pretty cooked, I think, for this week. They did pick up a few injuries last week. And look, obviously, the captain's going to be out. No Rosie again this week after playing that half game last week. What an absolute botched move that was by Kenny and the Port Adelaide Doctors. But look, I have a new strategy for tipping Port Adelaide. I think if the team they are playing is above them on the ladder, I'm tipping against them. If the team is below them, I'm tipping them to win. Feel like Port are the new flat track bullies of the competition, it seems. And look, I'll be the first to admit I had them picked as a top 2 or 3 side this year, but look, current form suggests that is not going to be the case. So look, I think Cats get it done here, and to be honest, I think they give him not a belting, but I think 4 goals seems about fair for this one. Just like I said, down to GMHBA. Port are captainless this week, and yeah, I don't know, that's just how I see it going down. Moving on to the second game on the Friday night this week, we have got Fremantle playing host to Sydney Swans at Optus Stadium. Another one. This is going to be an absolute belter of a game. I'm pretty excited about this one. Look, excuse me. To be honest, the only Freo game I've really watched this year from start to finish has been the Derby, which is probably why I've underestimated Freo a little bit this year. Look, Sydney are also a very good team, and they should have Luke Parker back this weekend, which it's going to be interesting. Does that mean that Errol spends a bit more time on the outside? Does it mean that Heaney can stop this whole... He's not going to have to rest forward as much because Parker is also a very good forward in his own right. Look... I really feel like this game could genuinely go either way. I feel like, I do, however, feel like, that the Freo match up with Sydney pretty well. I think, look, Freo's backstocks are very healthy. I think that Alex Pearce and Logan McDonald is going to be a great matchup to watch. And look, my gut's kind of just kind of just leaning towards Freo at the moment. Look, I just think because of the matchups and all, like I just said before, look, sorry, so yeah, look, we're going to lock it in. Freo, 8 points. Get the job done at home and to move up to just outside the top 4. Moving on to their first game on a Saturday morning, we've got the Hawks and St Kilda playing in Launceston. Look, this is going to be a very interesting game as well. I feel like if this was in Melbourne, I would just hands down be tipping the Saints. But something's just tugging at my jellies here. I kind of feel like the Hawks might just pull a cheeky upset here. Now, I will preface this by saying this is 100% feelings, no facts. But I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to tip the Hawks to just pull a cheeky upset on the Saints by the closest of margins, 1 point. Lock that one in, Eddie. All right, next game of the round, we have got the Bombers taking on the Giants at Marvel. Look, this one, again, will probably be a better game than most people expect it to be. I dare say most people are probably going to be tipping the Giants in this one. Look, no Tom Green for the Giants. That's probably one thing. And look, I think Essendon need to get a little bit of credit for what they've done so far this year. For those of you who watched my pre-season's prediction video, I had Essendon sitting at 15th at the end of that one. And look, they've surprised me. I did say that I felt like they could finish anywhere between 5th and 15th. They're just so hard to read. But look, credit for what they've done so far this year. However, I don't think this is going to be a win for them. Look, the Giants, to me, are still one of the top 2 sides in it. I think AFL and Sydney going very well. I think Sydney and Giants at the moment are still the team to beat. And yes, no Tom Green is going to hurt them in the middle, but I definitely think they've got the cattle to cover for it. So I'm going to let the Giants in by 3 goals here. That's going to be like I said, a great game, and I'm going to definitely make a point to try and watch that one. Moving on to probably what is going to be one of the not so good games of the round. We have got the Western Bulldogs taking on Richmond at the MCG. Look, Dogs are out for redemption. They had a shocking week last week, and I feel like they really need to find some consistency in performance if they're actually going to be taken seriously this year. Look, the Tigers are obviously in rebuild mode. It's just where they're at. But look, I think the Dogs come out here and do a bit of a number on the Tigers. I'm going to lock them in by about 6 goals, and hopefully that sort of just gets them back on track a little bit here. And you know what I've just noticed? I've been doing these tipping videos on Squiggle for 9 weeks now, and I've just noticed that this little curve down here must be what people are tipping by. Oh, I'm slow, but I get there eventually. All right, so we are now moving on to Saturday Night Football, and we've got the Suns taking on North Melbourne at TIO Stadium in Darwin. Is this finally going to be the week that Suns get it done away from home? I tell you what, you would hope so. Otherwise, I believe it is going to be hashtag Dimmer out for the Suns. But look, all jokes aside, North Melbourne are hot garbage, and I expect the Suns to get this done easily by about 6 goals. Excuse me. Moving on to Sunday football now, and we have the 2018 Grand Final rematch. We have Collingwood hosting the West Coast Eagles at Marvel, of all places, which I think is a little bit crazy. I personally, as a West Coast fan, I'd prefer this one to be at the G. Obviously, Optus Stadium and the MCG are pretty much identical dimensions. So anyway, this will be a fun one to watch. I feel like there's a lot of talk coming out of West Coast, especially with the young guys, about how much they love playing at Marvel. So I expect us to go all right. I do not expect us to win this game, and I won't be tipping West Coast at all. But yeah, look, I feel like maybe if West Coast didn't have Yo out, didn't have Waterman out, maybe with the outs that the Pies already have, I'd be much more willing to tip West Coast. But look, I don't see that happening here. I am looking forward to the Reed versus Dacos matchup. Hopefully we get a little bit of that. I would love to see Harley just completely give the old give Nick Dacos the old Ben Hobbs treatment and just sit him on his ass with a big don't argue. That would be pretty funny. But look, I think that's all the Eagles have to look for, or Eagles fans have to look forward to this week. I think the Pies are just starting to turn the heat up and are just starting to find some good form. And I think they'll do us by about 5 goals. So pretty happy to lock that one in. Moving on to Sunday afternoon footy and the last game of the round. We have got the Crows hosting the Lions at Adelaide Oval. This, I think, might quietly end up being game of the round. 2 teams here who have started off pretty bad. 2 teams that most people expected to be top 4 or definitely top 8 teams at the start of this year, and have both had pretty poor starts to the year. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game. Huge ramifications for both clubs. Obviously, the difference between being 4 and 5 and being 3 and 6 is quite big this year in terms of making the 8. Brizzy had a horror show last week with injuries, 2 ACLs. I still am not 100% sure what's going on with Charlie Cameron. I don't know if that's been put out there on the internet yet, but look, Darcy Gardner, Link McCarthy, both doing ACLs in the same game. Horrible week for the Lions, even though they did have a pretty good win in the Q Clash. But look, I think at the Adelaide Oval, I think the Crows are going to be too strong. I think they're going to get the job done in a very close game, and I am tipping the Adelaide Crows by 5 points to round out round 9. That is another edition of Show Us the Tips. Show us your tips in the can, ladies and gentlemen. So just to recap, we've gone the D's over Carlton by 2 goals. Freo in a very close upset at home over the Swans. Hawks to pull another close upset for the round, getting it done over the Saints and Lonnie by 2 points. GWS by a few goals over the Bombers. Dogs to do it easy over the Tigers. Gold Coast to just smash North Melbourne because they are hot garbage, ladies and gentlemen. And the Pies to get it done by about 5 goals over the Eagles. And the Crows to bring it home in front of their home fans against the Brisbane Lions in a close one. It is going to be a ripper of a round, guys. So, look, cheers for tuning in. That is another edition of Show Us Your Tips. Look, don't forget, guys, get around the Brilliance video if that is what you're interested in. Make sure you go and check that one out. Hit us up on all the social media platforms. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. Let us know in the comments what your tips are. Where have I gone wrong this week? And look, it might just be safe to do what everyone else should be doing and tip whatever I haven't, because like I said, my tips have been absolutely trash this year. But look, guys, that'll do it for me for another week. We'll see you next week. Not sure if it'll be Show Us Your Tips or a Brilliance unboxing first, which is going to be pretty exciting. But I dare say both of those things will be happening in good time next week. All right, legends, good luck with your tips. Good luck with your fantasy. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.